the president-elect was on with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press yesterday. Donald Trump talking a little bit about what is ahead, and we can listen to him now.
One of the first things we have is the moment he said, finally admitting that Americans might actually have to pay more for things because of his tariff plan. So that we may end up, as this whole election was about, much of this election was about our pocketbooks, right? And how much we're struggling and how much the price of gas and eggs cost. And here he comes with the tariff plan and he's promised to bring costs down. Now we have him admitting maybe we'll have to pay more because of all this.
To lower prices, you are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe it.
Can you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right. Yeah. Don't guarantee anything. Pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the world. Pre-COVID, Barack Obama was president. And so you've got to take everything he says with a grain of salt. Again, I'm going to refer to the fact that I've been immersed with Trump voters now for a very long time, going out on the road in different places and talking to them and hearing what they have to say, saying all of them, when I would say, is a tariff a tax? They would say, no, a tariff is not a tax. Well, a tariff is a tax. Even he, now that he's won, is basically saying that because he can't guarantee that there's not going to be more spending from families. As a president-elect, he should be saying, yes, of course I can. That's what I ran on. That's what I'm going to do. Anybody who is a president-elect says that, even if they don't believe it, they say that, right? George Bush said no new taxes. And so George the senior, this is a crazy position for him to take, to say, I can't guarantee tomorrow under any other circumstance. However, he lives within a different reality, and one that he has now justified because people will be okay with whatever it is he says. I interviewed a farmer in Iowa and a farmer in South Carolina during the tariff period. I guess it was around 2017 when Trump was president. Maybe it was 2018 going to those midterm elections. And they all said the tariffs were hurting them, but they think it might be a bitter pill to swallow. It's medicine now. You're going to get worse before you get better. That's how he advertises these tariffs. But again, there's no structure to it. There's no real plan. And he keeps talking about his old economy, and it's a lot different now.
He also had something to say on Pete Hegseth, looking at his Secretary of Defense nominee and his drinking problem.
Yeah, and that's what any president would say. We should say ahead of time, this is his nominee. So until it's time, that's what happens.
I guess so. I don't know. I just feel like when all of this is coming out, because now you have not only allegations of a sexual assault and of mistreatment of women at these new nonprofits in New York, allegations of financial mismanagement, and now you want him to oversee the Pentagon, and you have allegations of drinking on the job. So according to his Fox News colleague. So it's like that. It seems to me, that the one after another, all of these things are mounting. I don't know how much it takes for you to go backing away from someone to say, maybe this wasn't the right choice for such an important position.
Yeah, I don't think presidents do that. And they don't do that. And they allow it to evaporate, or they allow senators to say there aren't enough of us. And that's sort of what's happening here. I think Trump is accustomed to people saying that his nominees, from Brett Kavanaugh to Rex Tillerson to Pete Hegseth and Matt Gaetz, are not qualified for the jobs that they've been assigned. And he sticks with them until they decide it's time to pack it in. Or, typically a group of senators would go and say, hey, Mr. President-elect, we don't have the numbers and you should probably withdraw them. Then he would go to Hegseth and say, you should withdraw. That's kind of how.
And he talked about putting some of his enemies behind bars. He says Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are among those that he would like to see jailed for their speech against him, basically, and their work on the January 6th commission.
Yeah.
So is Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did.
Yeah.
Honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think?
I think everybody anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that.
And that was Adam Kinzinger had a response to Trump. I don't know if we can see that, about whether he should go to jail or not.
The executive branch can't go after the legislative branch because we embarrassed him. That's not a sin. That's not against the law. Ultimately, when we talked about him throwing his ketchup and hamburger against the wall, there's nothing illegal about that. And most of the people that testified were actually his Republicans, fellow Republicans that went up and spoke at him. So look, he's all butthurt right now because he was embarrassed. He's not going to come after us, and I'm not worried about it at all.
I don't know. I'd be worried. I'd be hoping that Biden throws down some preemptive pardons.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Adam Schiff says he doesn't want a preemptive pardon, but he'd be, I think, silly not to take one. And these pardons would go forward so that these people would be above any kind of contempt and charges, and they would be federal charges, so they would fall under the blanket of a pardon. But just the fact that he's saying this, like, it's indicative of the fact that he is on a mission when he gets in there, and his Justice Department and Kash Patel and the people that are going to be in his orbit are all going to be on the same mission. It's going to be an administration of distraction. And, I think that once they get down to the fact that we have a president who is going to be doing these things, Kinzinger less so, because he is somebody who is accustomed to fighting. But I don't think Liz Cheney wants the headache and would accept the pardon. I just think it's just too much to have to deal with. It's also, for a lot of these people, too expensive. People don't want to have to pay lawyers to defend themselves against the president of the United States. And as far as, do we have the birthright citizenship stuff, or
I don't know if we have video on it, but that's pretty crazy. He made a false claim and said America was the only country who does that, and we're not. There's a lot of countries who do that.
And it's also in our Constitution, right? It's in the 14th Amendment. To change the Constitution, you would have to have 2/3 of both houses of Congress. You'd have to have 3/4 of the state legislature call their constitutional conventions. It's not something that the president can just do. But when he talked about deportations, that was clearly disconcerting stuff, because he was talking about sending people home. And then Kristen Welker asked, what about people who have families that are mixed, that were born here and not? He said, well, it's a tough situation. I don't want to break up families, so send them all back, right? Yep. So send the kids with the family, and that's the meat and potatoes of what people wanted to hear from Trump. And it's kind of an upsetting place to be if you are, and then he also said, she also asked him, what would you say to Democrats? And he said, I'm going to be as kind and nice to you as I am to all the MAGA people, the most MAGA people. So it's
that's nice.
Yeah. And he says he loves them, but we don't know. It was a telling interview, because it was just basically saying all the things he wants to do on the first day. And you'll recall that during the campaign, he said that he wants to be a dictator on day one and just for one day. But that's going to be a very busy day. And he's not going to be able to be a dictator on changing the Constitution. There's no question.
Well, we have only, I don't know, what is it? 43 more days left of President Biden. And I guess people in his orbit are saying he's really kind of just checking out and letting Trump have the limelight here and not really doing much. We saw him today talking about what happened in Syria. We know that they're bombing ISIS targets in this area. So it doesn't feel to me like he's checking out, but people in his administration say, yeah, he's done.
Well, the United States president can't check out, right? So there are levels of involvement, and once you're not going to be the president in 43 days, there's less for you to sort of, you can't have bold initiatives in the same way. But there's a lot of business he can take care of as an outgoing president, and I'm certain he will. And he's spending a lot of time with lawyers, because that's what presidents do at their end of their term, looking into appointments, looking into judges. Like we talked about Andy Kim getting sworn in today, Adam Schiff getting sworn in today. They're going to vote on judges in the Senate. And then there's also the conversation that's going to be had about pardons. I think that unquestionably, this is probably a very busy president. They're just busy in a different way. He's not going on tour talking about infrastructure bills, and that's what happened. So.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.